Hi, it's Mike Anderson here from Gear Diary and wanted to take a look at the version 2.6 update for AmpliTube from IK Multimedia. Now the main features in this update are two amplifiers, Soldano SLO100 and Ampeg B15R amplifiers, and then within the effects range you have the Molar, which is a T-Rex Molar, distortion, which is there, a Big Pig's very simple distortion, a metal distortion, and that's really about it. 3 effects, 2 amplifiers, but they really do provide a decent amount of range to the system. So let's just start off with the Soldano. No effects are on. And again, you've got a preamp, control the mix of normal and overdrive. Really thin out. You can really change the characteristics of the sound. The amplifier is very active electronically. I've never actually used a real Soldano. I've used the Ampeg, but I've never used that. But from what I've read about it, this really matches. Very easy to get some heavy feedback out of this system. Now the presence. Really adds a ton of brightness, also a fair amount of volume, and really drives the thing to saturation. So we'll leave that off. Now again, you still have the same cabinets that you would be looking for. Different sorts of 12s, 412s, and 15s. So 412 cabinet with a big amp head like this. So, and that is what you would get from the Soldano just by itself. Okay, now I had to take care of a little bit of a cable issue there. You may have heard it popping in and out, so hopefully we're all good at this point. Anyway, what I've done is I've loaded up the 3 effects pedals and just a generic AmpliTube. So we just have a nice generic sound. It's clean. Now if we take the metal distortion, you get a really nice singing tone to it, a fair amount of noise, which perhaps you can hear in the background. It really brings a lot to it. Now you can, as before, you can really induce some nice feedback there. Now I'm just going to turn down the level a little bit, turn up the distortion. And it really has a lot of overtones to it. And I'll get rid of that. Now if I go to the Big Pig, again, a very simple Now, I'm assuming that the pig name in there is because it produces some fat tones. Now, I've done nothing else between these two, nothing to which pickups I'm using on the guitar or anything like that. So it's really based solely on the electronics here. And you have to actually back off on the volume button. You can tell, even just about a third of a turn on the tone, you go from something that's very bright to very dark, and up to sustain. And the sustain does the trick. Let's get rid of that. Now you get the T-Rex molar, which has a gain, has a mix, boost. There's a bunch of different things on there. But it's just, in general, gives a wonderful overdrive. Without being too heavily distorted. So it really is a nice little balance in there. I may actually have to write down the level. Without being overly, again, it's not obnoxiously distorted. You want the distortion, you switch to something nice. That Big Pig, that really reminds me more of the sounds of the 70s and that. The distortion is like the 80s, 90s. T-Rex Mauler, that's kind of a timeless sound because it balances the distortion and just a nice little overdrive. And I think the important thing is the range of control you have on these pedals. So now I'm going to hook up my bass and we'll take a look at the bass amp. Alright, so now hooked up with the bass and have the standard AmpliTube bass configuration, which has a 115-inch speaker. Don't really have anything special. The presets typically have things about the halfway mark. It almost sounds like it has a tad bit of a flanging effect on it as it is, and that's not anything that I'm adding. A little bit overdriven, that could be my practice amp, which is a guitar amp. Alright, so now let's take a look and see, compare it over to the B15R, the Ampeg. Now there's a few different settings here. I mean, as you can see, the sound is bright. And it's just no comparison. If I were going to use AmpliTube playing bass, I would choose this Ampeg 100% of the time. It is just night and day. And that gives a sweet sound. Still, it's probably a little bright for some. So you've got so you can change the crossover frequency. Give a little bit more. Back off on the treble a little bit. Amp up the bass. Way too much. And you can actually even drop drop to you. Really sweet sounding amp, and again, that's the bass. It gives you a decent amount of flexibility. And there you have it, the 2.6 update from AmpliTube. This will be included with my review of the 2.5 major update, and this is really just a nice, sweet, continuing to expand package that IK Multimedia has put together. So definitely check it out. You play guitar, you play bass, you really want to have this in your arsenal. Mike from Gear Diary, thanks for listening.